In this video, I'm going to show you two different ways to fix this annoying error message in Power Query. Let's say if I go into the previous step, you can see, and I can definitely find that I do have this null count column. But if I go into the next step, it says the field null count of the record was not found. And that's really annoying. You can see the particular column in the previous step, but when you do the filtering, it just shows an error message, and that's weird. In this video, I'm going to show you two different ways to handle this. So please watch this video till the end. This is particularly happening if you are using Table.Profile function, okay? The Table.Profile just return different columns for that particular table and some aggregation, okay? Like, minimum, maximum, average, standard deviation, count, null count, distinct count, and so on. It just return you the different columns and their aggregation, okay? But this step doesn't store the information in memory. That's why it is happening that when you try to filter this column, then it couldn't find that particular column in the memory. So there is two different ways to solve this particular problem. One is that you need to force this to load this to memory, okay? So the first way is you can just use Table.Buffer. Then you'll see that error message is gone. So it just vanished. So it's working fine now. That's the first way you can buffer the table, and after that you can just filter that particular table easily without that annoying error message. That is the first solution. And the first solution is kind of little bit heavy on memory because it loads all the data into memory. The second approach is memory efficient, and that is just using StopFolding. What this does, it says prevent any downstream operation from being run against the original source of the data. So if I just use this one, then you can say it solves that particular problem as well. I want to clarify one thing in this part. It says any downstream operations from being run against the original source of the data. What this does mean is that, let's say in the downstream process, like in below steps, you are just choosing a specific set of columns. Like let's say you have 10 different columns and you are just using 2 columns from those 10 different columns. Then this particular Power Query will be optimized in the source to only return those 2 columns instead of 10 different columns, okay? So the downstream step means all the next steps. So you can say it says run against the original source of the data. Let's say your data source is a SQL table or any other table. Then your original source is the SQL table, and the downstream steps is probably using only 2 or 3 different columns. So it will just load those 2 different columns. It's called query optimization and query folding. So it's sometimes useful, but in this scenario, Table.Profile scenario, it's not useful, okay? So if you want to solve that dreaded error message, there is 2 ways. One is that Table.Buffer to load the data into memory, and there is another one is called Table.StopFolding. Between these two, Table.StopFolding is the best way to choose. If you find this video helpful, please consider subscribing. Have a good day.